Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Naaman with the Great Millstone Camp here in DC. Back for another video. First and foremost, call all Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kodash, and of course, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. I'd like to send out salutations to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and the byways. All right, wherever your camp may be, in whatever land that you are in. All right, because we have camps virtually all over. All right, and they're out there pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth as to who the true Israelites are. All right, and they're aided, of course, by the many, many videos that go out for the edification of the hopeful elect of Israel, but also for those of you that may be on the fence. All right, that's what we're here for. That's the purpose that these videos and things of that nature serve, if you choose to do so. Or, as I usually say in my videos also, we realize that a lot of you just view this as entertainment. Well, it's going to be to your undoing in the not so distant future, as a matter of fact. So, let's get on into it. This is the copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. The nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Once again, fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. And it's going to be a short video, by my standards anyway. The things that are coming out that I never knew this, but it's so much that these devils have done. They still do, by the way, but in the not too distant past, as you see here is Jake on the telephone, trying to place a call for some kind of emergency, and it goes here: how phone companies used segregation in the 1950s. In the 50s, the telephone represented progress, modern homes, suburban growth, instant connection. But for many Black Americans, access to that connection was shaped by segregation. Major providers like the Bell system operated within a Jim Crow framework. In parts of the South, I remember because I grew up under the Bell system. In parts of the South, Black customers were forced to use separate service counters or segregated customer areas. In other places, discrimination was quieter, but just as effective. All right, and that goes into the difference, not by much, but when people talk about racism they experienced in the South, yes, it was more direct. But nonetheless, wicked and hurtful wherever you were in this wicked-ass country. All right, so don't get caught up into that bullshit there. All right, yes, the South, they were more direct. But you can use the analogy of the fox and the wolf if you want to. The fox representing the northern states, all right, and the wolf, of course, representing the South. If you want to use Malcolm X's description. But again, it's terror either way. All right, it says Black neighborhoods were often last in line for new infrastructure. Installation requests were delayed. Repairs took longer. Rural Black communities sometimes waited years for service expansions that white communities received first. All right. The discrimination wasn't always written on a sign. It was built into procedures. And this is what we always bring up systemic racism. All right. It's ingrained. It's just part of the overall system. It says inside the companies, racial barriers shaped employment. Salakia for that. White women dominated switchboard and operator roles, positions seen as respectable and stable. Black workers were frequently confined to janitorial, maintenance, or lower paying positions. In many regions, black women were excluded from operator jobs until civil rights pressure forced change. All right. Access to a phone in the 50s was more than convenience. It meant access to emergency services, job opportunities, business transactions, and medical help. Being denied timely service meant being cut off from economic mobility in a rapidly modernizing country. This goes towards, there's these devils there, they're being stripped bare. That skirt is being lifted, and they hate this. You wonder why they were so opposed to teaching actual factual history when it came to us. What did they do? They labeled it critical race theory. All right, well, we're not going to teach this. And I said, why? Well, why not? Well, what, are you hiding something? You goddamn right they were hiding something. Because a lot of these people that, even in the story we're doing here, are still alive. Their children are still alive. All right, it says, advertising reinforced the divide. National telephone campaigns portrayed white suburban families as the standard customer, while black households were largely invisible in mainstream marketing. Segregation did not exist only in schools, buses, and housing. It ran through billing systems, hiring practices, and installation schedules. All right. Telecommunications reflected the same racial hierarchy embedded in housing, healthcare, and employment policy. The phone connected America, but it did not connect Americans equally. So let's go ahead and roll the video here. Just to give you an overall a view of, what this is going on.
Did you know that in 1950 St. Louis, your race determined whether your emergency call would go through? Southwestern Bell didn't just connect phone calls, they engineered segregation through... Did you know that in 1950 St. Louis, your race determined whether your emergency call would go through? Southwestern Bell didn't just connect phone calls, they engineered segregation through copper wires. While white customers enjoyed private phone lines, black families were crammed onto party lines with up to 8 households sharing one connection. Imagine trying to call for help during a medical emergency, only to find the line busy because your neighbors were already talking. But it gets worse. When black residents did get through...
Now, that I knew about the party lines and all that, but I didn't know that part about it was done intentionally. If you were to call for like emergency services, all right, you always want to know, why things, that's one of the reasons, not the whole, even if help came at all, it was usually real late.
To emergency services, operators would mysteriously disconnect calls or claim they couldn't hear clearly. These weren't accidents. They were company policy. Getting a phone installed required special approval that was routinely denied in black neighborhoods. Families would wait months, sometimes years, for basic telephone service that white customers received within days. This wasn't just about convenience. It was about control. By controlling communication, Southwestern Bell isolated entire communities from jobs, medical care, and each other. They turned the telephone system into another tool of segregation hidden behind the friendly voice of an operator. The wires carried more than voices. They carried inequality.
Now let's go to the actual site because I want to get some of the comments. Well, that's not it. Hold on. Oh boy. Let's see.
Did you know that in 1950 St. Louis...
All right. Let's look at some of the comments. All right. So this is still going on in the 70s. So I worked for the phone company in the 2000s, and they were still training their reps to make...
Run again,
hold on.
In 2028. So for him, he probably doesn't give a shit. He'll probably try.
And they were still training their reps to make it harder to get phone service landline for black and brown customers. Look at that. All right. He said in the 2000s. All right. Let's see. 3 more replies to that. He said, what the fuck? He said, as a child in the 2000 Deep South, we shared a line with our neighbors, and I always wondered how that was a thing. All right. If you dig deep, you'll find the reason behind most things is rooted in racism. Yes. All right. Yeah, they say we make everything about race. No, sir. Ma'am, history tells us a much different story. Exactly. That's why it's good to search out that history. All right. Southwestern Bell, a.k.a. AT&T. And they want to make America great again. Yes, because they want the good old days, as they call it, to come back. It says, like, damn, what the fuck is their problem? This is still so lame. Segregating telephone service? When we say systemic, this is an example, what I was saying earlier. All right? Not shocked by any evil in this country anymore. Shake my head. This is the operator. How may I harm you? Institutional racism has no end. No limits. Nothing is too low or inhumane. There you go. All right. Yes, there is an end, and we're getting closer every day to that deliverance. There you go. It seems as if almost all of these institutions are either rooted or associated with systemic racism, of course. This is one of the ones I wanted. It says, damn, they feared us so bad. And I'm not talking about scary fear. I'm talking that they know we better than them fear. There you go. Every accusation is a confession, as they say. And it's a whole lot of projection when it comes to them folks. You just have to know that. All right. With a Public Enemy. Remember the song? All right. It says it was around 1983 that my mother flew from California to Mississippi to make the telephone company put in a single phone line for her sister. Shameful. 83. Don't forget, don't forgive. I can't take anymore. Every single day I learn a new way they've done us wrong. At least one. Today, and it's only 9 a.m., I've already learned a few. And my late aunt and her friends worked for Bell. Wow, I never knew this. This is American history and needs to be taught in schools. This is yet another disadvantage African Americans face. Imagine how this impacted those families for decades. Exactly what I was talking about earlier with, they labeled it critical race theory. And threw a fucking fit because they didn't want little Timmy and, well, whatever the daughter's name, Megan or whatever, to learn just who they are. All right. "911 is a joke." There you go. This is something, this next one right here, I'd always ask myself too. And again, the civil rights era threw a lot of our people off. Now, the thing I've come to learn since then was MLK, actually, by his own statement that he made, he was actually just getting started. What he was going for next, that included the, the poor peoples. When he went to Memphis to address the sanitation workers on the eve of him getting assassinated, he was actually going for the money. All right, and of course that coupled with being against Vietnam, yeah, he had to go. It says, instead of asking for reparations, no, ask for restorations. And I've often said this. What about all the land that was stolen from us, all the businesses that were burned, and the redlining, all of this? But that goes into the reparations aspect of it. All right. Instead of asking to be equal and to get jobs and stuff, that's what I always say. Well, why not go that route? You know, but they're not going to do it regardless. So that's why I always say Revelation 13 and 10 is our reparations, because they themselves are going to be our reparations. But, you know, a lot of us aren't on the level to understand what that actually means, because we got a lot of us that are into that. They fall prey to, you know, little the Edomites have rubbed off on them, and they want that instant gratification. All right. Just look it up. We can get help, my people. Look up a guy on TikTok called The Mind 2020 on TikTok, whatever. All right. It says, yep, remember hearing elders speaking about this inability for black people to get phone approval, phone inequality. Wow. Pure fuckery. The entire system, all right, of America is built and founded on racism. This, as I was just mentioning a little bit a minute ago, this is the history that whites wants you to forget. Exactly. But this is why we're out here on the highways and byways, people. All right? This is why we're out here on the highways and byways. We serve as the watchman to let you know all this is linked, and you can find it in the scriptures. Your churches were not set up for you to learn the truth, especially about yourself. All right? These harlot houses, and that's what the scriptures call them. That's all they are. They're here for the control of you. That's how they were set up. All right. Why are these folks so damn evil? Because they are the wicked. Yeah. Yeah, it says here, I remember the party line. Sometimes we could hear other people's conversations. Yeah. All while charging us more. Race has to do with everything. That's it. I think you get it. So, yeah, this is, as the elder apostle Tahar, you know, he gives the name for every year. And this year, everything and everyone is being exposed. This is what's happening. All right, so we almost out of here. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel. All right. Pray daily, as the scriptures say. We have to. We're almost out of here. Don't lose the faith, especially now. All right, so that's it on this. Damn. It's always something else. So, with that, hey, nothing should surprise you at this point. All right, so with that, I hope whoever views this has been edified. And I'd like to still remind you to remain circumspect. Keep your eyes and ears open out here. So with that, until next video, shalom.